Nick in Ilford, hello.
Hi, Sheila. I think it's an easy answer to why people are switching off to it. They don't believe they're getting the truth. They're not getting both sides of the story. They're only getting the people on the TV news or the radio news in general that already have this solid idea of Russia being a good one at the moment. There's one narrative only going out at the moment, and that's Russia bad, Ukraine good, and that isn't the case. It doesn't matter where you look.
It's deeper than that, isn't it?
Everywhere.
Isn't it deeper than that? Russia invaded, Ukraine defended. That's another way of looking at that story.
You can make that argument, but you can also make the argument that...
Hang on. That's not an argument. Those are facts.
But you're proving my point now. They're not facts.
They're not facts. Russia didn't invade Ukraine.
Well, it's a fact that they invaded.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
No, that's a fact, but if you're going to give that fact, you then need to delve deeper into how did it get to that place, and then you can get back to 2014, what was happening in the Donbass.
All of that has been discussed on this programme. I won't speak for anybody else's, but all of that has been discussed on this programme.
Yeah, but that's one programme out of many.
I've also gone, for my own research purposes, gone in depth into podcasts about the history of Russia and Ukraine's relationship, podcasts about Putin and his understanding of what Ukraine is and isn't. It's all out there. Nobody's hiding it from anybody.
Well, it is being hidden because people aren't really allowed to put the opposite view because...
Well, they are.
Well, they're not.
They are. I'll just argue, like you, I will argue elements of it with them, but they are allowed to. You're doing it right now.
No, I am, and 2 weeks ago when I spoke to you about this, you cut me off when I said something you didn't like.
I don't cut people off for saying things I don't like. Unless the thing that they are saying is either completely untrue or hate speech or against the law.
Well, what I said to you wasn't untrue, and it certainly wasn't hate speech.
Well, you...
and you see it again and again. It happened during COVID as well. I think COVID was the big one that opened
Nick, I don't cut people off for saying things I don't like or I disagree with. I really don't. And I often get accused by people of cutting people off when, in fact, I was ending a conversation that had lasted for 4 minutes already because I needed to go to the news headlines. There's all kinds of things happening in...
20 seconds. I think it lasted about 20 seconds, that call.
How much would you like today? How much time would you like today?
Well, it's not about time. I was thinking, I like LBC. I like that people can ring in and,
Me too.
I listen to presenters I don't like. I listen to presenters I do. And I think it happens.
I think I know which one I don't think I know which one I am.
To be honest with you, Sheila, sometimes I think you're fair and sometimes I think you're not, and that's even on things that I agree with.
Can I suggest to you that the points at which you think I'm being unfair might be points. I'm not saying I'm right here, Nick, but there may be something for us both to go away. You've given me stuff to go away and think about. How about I give you something to go away and think about? That the points at which you think I'm being unfair, what I'm actually doing is making you wonder whether you have got something right or wrong.
No, I've listened to you before on points that I've agreed with you with, and then they've had a caller that's had an opposite view, and I feel like you didn't give them a good enough hearing or you've cut them short in some way, and they were things that I agreed with you with. I think it's difficult to take personal bias out sometimes. But when I talk about mainstream, I mean, especially things like the BBC, like TV news, just seems to be predetermined. There's not an alternative view. And as I said, a good example of that at the moment is Ukraine. You get plenty of so-called Ukrainian experts on, but no one who's an expert in Russia that sees the Russian side and ever puts that forward. I mean, that's a really good example.
Well, I'm not here to defend the BBC, but I have recent memory of the BBC interviewing, television and radio news, interviewing a Russian ambassador a number of times. There's also a special investigation into what Russians think of the war, all kinds of different types of Russians. There was something on that with the BBC recently. That would suggest that they're not sitting there silencing Russians. What's difficult about the Russian people at the moment, and maybe even Russian elite people that you might seek to speak to as a journalist, is they're hard to get to. And they're hard to get to because Vladimir Putin has deep control of what goes on in his country and from his country.
Yeah, but much of the information is available. So you've got the recent issue around the dam collapse. Absolutely blamed on the Russians. That was the Russians that did it.
And your implication, am I right in saying that your instinct is to favour Russia in this story?
No, my instinct is to get to the truth. So the information is the Russians did it, but at no point have I heard any news organisation also put the information out that 10 months ago the Ukrainians were saying that they were going to blow the dam up.
No, they didn't. 10 months ago the Ukrainians were saying that they were fearful Russia would blow the dam up, and they wanted the international community to make it an internationally protected piece of infrastructure for both nuclear cooling reasons and humanitarian reasons. Nick, I hope you feel you got enough of a hearing today. Thank you for your call. That's Nick in Ilford.